Hey everybody, Mike Wendler here. You know Campskunk. He's our full-time boondocking expert, normally in North America. But for the past several months, he's been in Europe. Well, Campskunk joins us right now from, well, I think you're in Germany, are you not?
Yes, I'm in Nuremberg, to be precise here. We just got here yesterday afternoon and are in a nice campground here, and we're ready to head on out and see some of the sights.
Well, I see your RV right behind you, and it's looking nice and clean. Uh,
Yeah,
you've had quite the adventure. Why don't you start out by letting everybody know when you got there and where you have been, where you've been, and maybe some of your favorite places.
well, we got here in April, late April. We put the camper van on the boat and waited 2 or 3 weeks, and then flew over and retrieved it in Antwerp. And of course, it was cold that far north, so we headed south down through France and went to the Mediterranean coast in the south of France and stayed there for a month or so. Went down into Spain, and it started to get hot, so we went up and over across the Mediterranean coast into Italy, and it was still hot. So then we went up into Austria and got cooled off. And from there, we went all over the place. We went to Budapest. We went to Prague. We went briefly into Poland, and went through a lot of Germany. We've been in Germany for the last month or so.
Now, the differences, maybe we'll start again. You've written on the blog, and we can send people to the blog about the process of shipping your motorhome over to Europe. But have you seen many other people from the U.S. or Canada over there?
Not with an RV. I've run into a few people who are, just got over here years and years ago and are wandering around, and they see my tags and come up and talk. But no, there are no other American RVers that I've run into over there. There are probably a few, but we are rare.
Well,
People are always surprised to see me.
you were actually featured on German national television, as I understand, right?
Well, I was in a campground that the film crew was prowling looking for interviewees, and yes, I did. I had my brief moment of fame there.
Well, they were amazed to see your Florida license plates. Talk about the differences between camping in Europe and camping in North America. What's the most significant differences on the plus side and then on the negative side?
Well, of course, the plus size, I never seen any of this stuff except very briefly, when I was a regular tourist. And the wonderful thing about having your own RV is you get to stay and see what places are like and explore them in depth. And you just have so much more time. We were on a whirlwind 2 week tour of France and a little bit of Italy. About 10 years ago, and it's just so hectic. You have to keep moving, keep moving. Here we can sit and stay for days at a time. We've got 6 months over here. So the plus side is I get to talk to people, I get to meet people, I get to see what the countryside is really like, and I get a feel for the place. There, I don't know. The only minus sign is occasionally I have language difficulties, but, usually there's someone around that I can communicate with, but sometimes I have to look a little bit. Other than that, I really can't think of any. It's not that much more expensive. There is one negative that is I kind of miss the wide open spaces that I have out in the American West.
That's what I was.
Everything is very regulated here. You have to be in a campground. I found one place to boondock, and I was so happy.
That's
just to
what
sit
I,
there. We sat there for several nights.
that's what I was going to ask you.
And
You
so
are, of
it's
course,
nice to get out there and
you of course are our resident boondocking expert. That is the only way you camp back in North America. So we've been very curious of boondocking opportunities in Europe. Do you think it's because of the nature of camping in Europe, or has boondocking just not caught on yet there?
it is supply and demand. If they let people boondock, they would overfill these places and wear them out and leave trash. It's probably the same reason you can't boondock in the eastern United States very easily. It's just that there are so many people in such a small space. And I think that's what's going on. The people I've talked to here said you can go up to Sweden and boondock, where they have a lot of land and very few people, sort of like the American West. So I think that's the main difference. It's just the population density.
Now you are in a campground now, and maybe just move around. I think we're getting some video here, and we'll see if we can
Yeah.
take a look at what it looks like. It looks very much wooded. Looks nice. Oh, the video froze a little bit, but we'll see how. There we go.
There's a lot of towables here, and also some of these people recognize this chassis right here. It's the Dodge ProMaster, is what we call it, but Fiat makes it here. And here's another one right over here.
Yeah.
So this should look familiar, except you'll notice on this one the exhaust is coming out behind the driver's door. That's a big no-no in North America. But other than that, the campers are pretty much the same. You know, all my fancy solar and batteries and so forth is really going to waste here in Europe. I don't get to use it very much because you know, there's electricity all over the place and water and the dump and everything. So, but I'm really comfortable in my unit, and I'm enjoying staying here.
That's great. Now you've been able to stay in some pretty interesting places right near central cities where you can do the touring. And of course, I know you and Sharon have been seeing a lot, but talk about that, about the sightseeing opportunities you've had.
Yeah, they don't really call them campgrounds. They're sort of like glorified parking lots. And what they are is in these large cities like Vienna, Budapest, Prague, and so forth, there is a fairly high density, minimal service campground that is near a metro stop or a tram or a train. And so what you do is you park there, and then you know, walk a couple hundred meters, get on the metro, go downtown, do all the big city stuff that you want to, and then you can come right back out and spend the night in your camper. So it's a great way to visit these cities, and I have found campgrounds like that in most of these large cities. You can camp surprisingly close, you know, a 30-minute or less subway ride to the center of town.
What is it like driving your Class B RV in Europe? How are those roads? What are the challenges or the joys of driving?
Well, I do the same thing I do in the States. I stay away from the inner cities. They're a lot tighter here because, of course, they were built a lot longer ago before cars. Most of the drivers are fairly considerate and so forth, and I stay on the 2-lane roads, and just like I do in the States. It's really not that much more of a challenge. All the stuff is I'm driving on the right side of the road. I'm not going to Britain, and you know, I get it done. There are traffic circles instead of traffic lights and a few other differences, but it's fairly easy to pick up, and you can drive safely. And if you know, just stay out of high stress situations at first until you get used to it.
How has security been there? Has there been concern about crime or any of those issues?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
They're really not. The campgrounds are very secure. They usually have a big fence, and if they're in the population area, and they have a gate that they keep closed all the time, except if you know you're camping there and you have the key, or some of them have these fancy optical recognition systems for your license plate. Of course, I don't have a front license plate since I'm from Florida, so it doesn't work for me, but they just put the tag numbers in the system, and it lets the right people in and out. It's a really, I haven't felt in any kind of danger of getting robbed or whatever since I've been here.
How about gasoline, electricity? I know you wrote on the blog, and we can send people there about some of the changes you need to make for current and power, but has that been consistent, electricity and hooking up and all that stuff?
Yeah. Like I said, these are all campgrounds. There's electricity available. I just got a little trickle charger, so I can charge my battery regardless of the difference in voltage. I'm not directly plugging my RV in to the shore power. But no, there's really I have a minimal amount of hassle here. The
How?
only thing I really had to do was convert my toilet into a porta potty here, because they don't really have black water dumping facilities in most of these areas. They're all cassettes.
Yeah, and that's a trend we're seeing in the U.S. as well. Many people are going to cassette toilets there as well. What's been the reaction to other campers when they have looked at your Roadtrek CS Adventurous? They've seen all the solar and all of the technology. I'm curious how European campers and RVers have reacted.
I'm pretty stealthy. Most of them don't recognize it for what it is. You know, a few people have said, "Wait a minute, there's something funny about that camper of yours," and I've told them about it. But what I do tell them that I camp out in open territory with no electricity and water and so forth, and that's what it's designed for. So they're kind of interested in that in an abstract way. They're never going to have a place they can use it, but they think it's kind of neat. But they like the way it looks and so forth. Now I'm up in Germany. There are a lot more Sprinter-based chassis, so I'm fitting in better.
Give us an idea of your plans for the next few weeks, and when are you heading back into the States, and what will that process be like as you pack up in Europe and say goodbye to your European RV vacation?
Well, it's this right here at the end of August. You can feel the weather starting to change up here, so we are going to head back down through France and probably into either Spain or Italy for September. And the half of October we get to stay here. Right around the middle of October, we're going to make a run for Antwerp again, where we put the van on the boat and put it on the boat and fly home, and then wait 2 or 3 weeks for it to show up in Baltimore and then go retrieve it. So that's the general plan. We don't really make up specifics. We just do that as we go along.
Now, of course, I could not do an interview with Campskunk and not ask about how Fiona is faring. Fiona the Fearless.
I hope you've been keeping an eye out behind me, because she may have absconded again.
I haven't seen her.
If you saw her run off, let me know here.
It might be her way in the back of the van. Is that her back there on the back end of your van there? Yeah.
It might be.
Yeah.
She's hard to keep track of, because she likes to wander around and explore things and take herself for walks. But it's pretty much the same to her. I mean, we park and she wants to get out and go for a walk and sniff around and so forth. And she's been pretty much, she really doesn't pay much attention to where we are. She just expects me to take her for walks and feed her and water her and all that stuff. So it's about the same for Fiona.
Well, it has been really a joy to watch all of the updates that you've been doing on the Roadtrekking RV travel blog, and I know you've got more coming. And we are thinking about doing a Facebook Live some night. It'll be very early in the morning for you when we do it, but we'll try and do that in a couple of weeks as you get into good cell phone connection. And that way people can ask questions live as we do this, and we'll have a lot of fun.
Okay, I'll see if I can get connected and do that.
All right.
Don't keep me up too late.
That's right. Well, Campskunk, you have been a delight. I look forward to all of your blogs. Thank you so much for making time this morning. Now, just to get a quick idea of a typical day before you go, you're in Germany. How are you going to spend the rest of this day?
Right now, we're a little low. We need to go get some bread and some other things at the store. So I just Googled a nearby grocery store. We'll drive over there, pick it up, come back to the campground, hang out. Ours are a walking around day. We're going to start out early and go and see the sights. And we are right by the old Nazi parade grounds. There's literally, this campground is right here next to that big stadium where Hitler did all the speeches and all the rallies and so forth. They had this big area of land, and they turned some of it into an RV park. So I have stuff that I can walk to from here. We're going to do that tomorrow, and then we'll just figure it out from there. Depends on the weather and how bored we are.
Well, there you go. Well, Campskunk from Nuremberg, Germany, thanks for sharing your RV adventure with us.
Okay, Mike, no problem.
Hey, the sound was off a little bit in that because, well, Campskunk was in Europe and we recorded over the internet. But nevertheless, thanks, Campskunk, for sharing some time with us as you've been traveling Europe. Hey, do us a favor. Subscribe to our YouTube RV Lifestyle channel. You can do so right below. I'm Mike Wendland. Thanks for watching.